Well, I grew up in a small town, Atlanta, Indiana. It's just north of Noblesville, about 20 miles, and 500 people. My dad raced, so I can remember, actually I was coming to the racetrack when my mom was pregnant, so that's how long I've been coming. I'm 65 now. My dad was pretty successful here at Kokomo and Warsaw and around Indiana, and so that was kind of, that's what I wanted to do. And so I tried every sport in high school. One season I'd try basketball, one season football, one season wrestling, whatever, and then I'd always be thinking, man, I want to race. So I got a car when I was about 17, and didn't have a lot of money, so I'd race a little bit, tear it up, set out, race a little bit, and then I got a couple rides. Tom Eads was my first ride, and I think Scotty Weir's driving for him right now. But that's kind of how that came about, and then wound up getting some pretty good sponsors and kept racing. Then decided I wasn't going to be the best, and I wanted to be the best, so I decided I better probably pursue another avenue. I didn't want to be broke and wounded, so I started Jeff's Jam It In Storage. And when I started that, a guy called me out of Florida, Captain Jack Noling, to take care of Dave Still's pavement stuff. So we brought all that up to my storage place, and Dave Still and I went racing. Nobody knew about him, and he was badass, won a lot of races. Winchester, I remember the first time we rolled in there, and he's like, most guys are scared to death, and he's like, man, this is gonna be fun, this is awesome. He would come in laughing. 96, we won the Little 500 that year. So that's part of it. And then he wasn't the greatest on the dirt, and I told him, because I really liked Dave, he lived with me for 3 years. He was like one of my kids, I guess. I've never had kids, but so I said, David, what do you want to try different on the dirt? And he said, I want a different crew chief. I said, okay, who do you want to get? And he said, Bob East. So we got Bob East, and the results wasn't there. And he said, I go, who else you want to get? And he goes, well, let's try Phil Poor. Well, the results wasn't there. And I said, well, we've tried everything you wanted to try. Let's try what I want to try, because at this point I'd built him a dirt car, a dirt sprint car. And so I put Tony Elliott in the car, and we was pretty successful. Won the USAC championship a couple times. And David would tease me and go, you're the only guy to ever fire me, because he was so good on pavement. But he's seen the results, so he kind of quit, really. But and then eventually 93, no, let's see. Anyway, I sold that. That revolved into Elliott driving and Darlin and a bunch of guys. I'm not even sure what year I quit, but when I quit, I was going to retire and just take it easy. And then people started calling me to work on their cars, and then I landed here with Justin, which was one of my boys I brought from California, and he worked in my shop, and I think I give him his first sprint car ride here at Kokomo, actually, and he led the darn thing for 24 laps in my second car with Hunter Schoenberg. Had caught him on the last lap and run into his left rear. We was running 1-2, and that was Justin's first trip here, actually, and we would have finished 1-2. Instead, Justin got taken out by my other car with Hunter. Hunter got a right front flat, and just a couple laps to go, Cole Witt wound up winning the race, and we run second with Hunter. And then Justin calls me, and I go to work for Justin, and here I am. Tony's dad raced, Jim Elliott, and really good racer, and my dad was a good racer, and those two would usually be fighting for the lead, just like Dave Darlin and Tony Elliott was in their time. It was my dad and Tony's dad, Jim. So him and I would run around here, and then as we both got older, we started racing against each other. So we traveled around a little bit, going like into Missouri and Illinois, and him and I would run up front usually, and we were real good friends, but we were rivals too, And then as time went on, he just asked me to drive my car. I think I won my first feature up here, and the next weekend I had to work, and he didn't have a full-time ride, and he was like, let me run your car up there. And I was like, sure. And they brought it up here, him and some of my buddies. and they lost their brakes or something. But anyway, we grew up as little kids running around Warsaw at the lakes and the racetracks. And then eventually he drove for me, I think 9 years, maybe 10. And we won 2 USAC championships. Awesome driver. Hardly ever tore anything up. So it was pretty easy. He was really clean and neat and a fun guy to be around, always pulling jokes and tricks. It was just a good time and at a good time. Kyle Larson, Ricky Stenhouse, Levi Jones. I've had a bunch of good ones. Yeah, people said that about me, that I had a good eye for talent. I think I just go to a lot of races, and I've seen a lot of races. So when I see somebody doing really well, like Kyle Larson, you know, I think he was 17 when he drove my car, but I knew he was going to be really good. Ricky Stenhouse, I was out in Arizona and he won the Western World, the Silver Crown car and the sprint car. So I asked him, hey, you got a ride? You're back in Indiana, I got a sprint car for you. And he was driving for me. And Tony Stewart called him, and he moved to Tony Stewart, and he thought I'd be mad at him, but I wasn't. Because Tony had done that. I think him and Casey would look at who was driving my cars, because when they had their team, they know me. Casey drove for me. Tony and I's good friends. And they would probably, I felt like they would just say, who's driving Walker's car? Because Brad Sweet was driving my car, and he went with Casey. Levi Jones was driving my car, he went with Stewart. Ricky Stenhouse was driving my car, he went with Stewart. So I was like a stepping stone, and those young kids, I don't blame them. Tony's got a lot more money than I do, obviously, and a lot more connections. So I told those boys, go, I don't blame you. Justin and I's always got along really well. I probably wouldn't have done it, but it was him, and he was just kind of, you see where I'm at in the points? And I didn't even know where he was at in the points, you know, and he goes, I need some help over here. And I've learned a lot from him. He's really good. There's a few of those races. Of course, all my Oval Nationals, I think I've won that 2 times with Darlin. Chris Wyndham, the youngest kid ever to win it, he was 17. When we won it out there, they asked me, did you ever think this kid, you brought him in here, could win this race? And I told him, I said, well, I probably wouldn't have brought him if I didn't think I could win it. Kevin Thomas Jr. working on Hoffman's car, because Richard Hoffman and I were big rivals for a long time. But him and I always got along really well, had beers together and stuff. And to get to work on his car after being rivals that long, and then he passed away just shortly after that, that kind of sticks with me. And then, of course, Eldora, anytime you win 4 Crown, we was on ESPN, and Tony Elliott won it for me. And my good friend that got me started in the storage business, Joe Conroy, he's passed away now. I just can remember him wanting to get in the picture and wanting to be on TV, and he had just been eating a bunch of hot wings, and he had that wing stuff, that sauce all around his mouth. So that stands out. But yeah, the Western World, Oval Nationals, Eldora, we clean sweep up here at the SmackDown last year at Kokomo, and I grew up here, so you know that's one of my favorites. Always coming to Kokomo. So I don't really have one, I just have several. I just keep going. Sometimes we get down, we have a little bad luck, get down. I tell Justin, I'm like, you know, this is all we've done our whole life. What are we gonna do? No need to be mad about it. We're not gonna quit. So just suck it up and keep swinging. So I don't know, I just keep swinging, and like I said, I'm 65. I need to probably slow down a little bit, but in bed last night at, I think we got to bed at 3 and up at 7. I had a wrecked race car and just, you know, going on 4 hours sleep right now. Maybe it helps keep me young. I don't know. I think he's gonna make an old man out of me, Justin. But anyway, it's been a good run.